Alex Murdaugh having an opportunity to face his victims in court, his financial victims in court at his sentencing, where he is now going to be facing 27 years behind bars. At least 80% of that he will be facing behind bars. Of course, there are the other murder convictions, which should keep him there for the rest of his life, unless, of course, that gets overturned, which is another very real possibility. We'll talk on that in just a little bit. Right now, Robin Dreeke, retired FBI special agent, joining us to discuss yeah, it was quite a spectacle in court when we saw Alex Murdaugh. Uh, and I feel bad because there's a lot of focus here on Murdaugh's statements himself, him standing up there, and it almost did overshadow, I think, in terms of spectacle, the victim statements, and all of those were extremely powerful. But I think what nobody expected was almost a rebuttal that we got from Alex Murdaugh to some of the points that some of those victims made. What are your thoughts, Robert, on how that all went down?
Yes. I was really kind of flabbergasted by this one, Tony. I felt compelled and heart-wrenched, just like everyone else was that watched the victim testimony, and they were heart-wrenching. I mean, he
Oh yeah,
ruined lives, and these weren't just anonymous people. These were close people in his life. It kind of shows the degree of deprivation that pervades his psyche, because he wronged people that were very close to, like, lifelong friends and the sons of people that worked for him forever, that were close. It was horrible to go through. But the worst part came next. He was given a mouthpiece without a limit. I literally, Tony, as soon as I watched this, the first thing I started looking up was, how long is a typical convict allowed to speak in court to his victims?
I know. Yeah,
I love Judge Newman. I think he's fantastic. I think he's done a great job throughout this, but he should have shut him up.
yeah,
He should have, if he's allowed to speak at all,
yeah.
2 minutes. And the entire focus of everything he said was all about him.
Yes, 100%.
So this is my area, of if anyone in life has a small skill set. My small skill set is in knowing how to focus on someone else versus yourself.
Uh,
And the words we use matter so dramatically. And if you want to demonstrate that you value someone, that you see them, that you're present for them, and you want to forge trust in a healthy, strong relationship, you make it about them. And the ways in which we do that, we use language like this. We seek their thoughts and opinions. We talk in terms of their priorities and pain points in life. We validate them without judging them. And that's what I'm going to come back to. And then we
mhm.
give them choices. If we do one of those four things in our communication with another human being, the shift goes from us to them. Their brains reward them for the engagement with us because we are seen, we're valued. And it's just, this is what healthy people do. Every single statement he made, at least as I watched the entire thing, was he was talking about how he felt, about how he valued their relationship, about all the things. It was him, him, him.
Mhm.
The amount of I statements he used was profound.
Yes,
The entire focus, the entire time was him without limit. And
everything.
what
Yeah,
and the second, I'm sorry, I'm going to keep monologuing here, because there was so much
yeah.
here that bothered me. And then as the camera went back to the victims, I would love to know what was going on in their minds, because some of them look like they're being wrapped up in his crap again.
Yeah.
And this is what extreme manipulators do very, very well. They're able to take our emotions, put them up in a ball, and wield them. And that's
Mhm.
what he did.
It was shocking to watch the reactions because I did get that from some people. Others, though, I think it was interesting. It was almost like watching someone, I don't want to say a stand-up comic, but there were those moments where he delivers his line and then he's waiting for the crowd reaction. And a lot of times
Mm.
he's not getting it. He's just like he's scanning the room. And I think in his mind, he was waiting for that sympathy or that empathy to come
Yeah.
back at him because that's everything
Yeah.
he wanted. It was always, I want you to know how I feel about this. And it was
Yes.
all about how I feel, not about how you feel, not like, hey, I've ruined all of your lives. I hate this. I'm gonna go away now. Please move on with your lives as best you can. I apologize. No, it's like, hey, I hope you come visit me so you know how I feel.
I know. I know. Was that the most profound thing?
Yeah.
It was so ludicrous. I want to keep a dialogue with you so I can keep justifying my behavior to you.
So,
That's
yeah,
exactly what he was saying. I
that's
was like, "What?
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
What a
Uh,
what
y-
a narcissist." That is,
yeah.
I know I don't use those terms of art because I'm not, a licensed clinician to do so, but
Yeah.
that is exactly what a highly developed narcissist with, as we say, has a lot of reps.
Yes.
He was so fluid in his delivery throughout this. And another key point here that I thought was interesting on a behavior side for him, he did have as I was watching the comments on the stream I was watching on Court TV, a lot of people were commenting on how annoying it was that he kept licking his lips, he kept clearing his throat, everything with the mouth stuff because he had dry mouth going, which indicates the huge indicator of stress.
Mhm.
So he was under stress. This thing did put him under stress. And if you now we're going to kind of relate it to psychopathy and narcissism and all those things. It is a scale. It's a sliding scale. So
Mhm.
you're not either a psychopath or not a psychopath, a narcissist or not a nice or narcissist. It's a continuum. And he did have enough emotion, I believe, in him to be stressed in the moment. If he was completely devoid of all emotion, none of this would stress him at all.
Mhm.
But there was some tinglings in there.
Yeah.
Enough, I think, that gave him distress. But as my good friend Joe Navarro, he commented on it, said he was just his nonverbal demeanor was he was resolved to what happened.
Yeah, and there was a moment and I want to talk about more that actually happened in it, but I do want to bring this up because it's just a good point to do it. At the very end, uh, it was so strange. He smiles and smirks and kind of laughs and walks away. And this is when the judge was giving him the sentence, and there really wasn't a reason for it. The smirking, the laughing, it was I don't know. And Judge Newman literally just called him out and compared him to a child that he sentenced several years ago who was void of empathy for the crimes that he committed, and said that Alec reminds him the most of that child that just there's something not in you.
Yeah.
And it seemed like then the switch was flipped. He got his little speech out and all of a sudden, okay, back to the cell. It was so I mean, yes, when people wonder about narcissists and how bizarre their behavior can be, and you try and get into their mind to figure it out, watch Alec Murdaugh giving this speech and try to follow along, pause it from here and there, and try to analyze why he's thinking the way he's thinking, and that helps you kind of get behind the mind of a narcissist and just how twisted they are in terms of functioning.
Well, you hit it right there. It's a perfect example in such small phrase, and that
Mhm.
is devoid of empathy. And
Yeah.
that was completely him. And that defines a narcissist, defines a lot of psychopathy because and it also is this how they play on people that actually have empathy
Hmm.
because normal human beings that fall within a normal pattern of human behavior and emotions, we feel bad for people.
Yeah.
We have empathy for others, and he was playing on that. This is what grand manipulators do. They take our our great strengths, but also failings as human beings to have this sympathy and empathy towards others, and they wield it like a tool against you. And that's exactly what he's doing throughout this.
Yeah.
He was using the empathy that his friends had for him throughout his entire life against them to garner sympathy for himself when he was the one that wronged everyone.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting, the fact that he was bringing up, all of these connections in life, these deep relationships that he had,
Yes.
almost like in his own defense of like, "This should make it better." Like, this makes it 10 times worse because these weren't just strangers to you. This was like
Mhm.
Jilly Bo Bob, who you played with on the playground or whoever they were, and it's like, that makes this far worse, Alec. Like, these are the people who you should never do these sort of things to.
I know.
Obviously, you shouldn't do it to anybody, but you did it to your closest friends, and now that somehow makes it, oh, you're more authentic in your apology? It made no sense at all.
And we said this on an earlier episode too that I knew. I knew the people suspected he'd be invoking the drug addiction at
Yep.
some point as
Took 3
well.
minutes.
Yep,
3
yep,
minutes to
did
get
that.
the drugs in, right away. One other thing I did notice in there, was, I wanna say it was an admission, about Gloria Satterfield and the insurance claims that he made. There was a statement that was made, and I'm paraphrasing here, but it was to the effect, I'm really sorry. I had the best intentions when I made up the story about the dogs and Gloria. When you made it up, I thought that was the story. Isn't that the one that we've been going with this whole time? That she tripped over the dogs? Because if you made it up for insurance claims, whether it was the dog, whether it was a sock, whether she just tripped, whatever, insurance is going to care neither way. The accident happened in the house, and the only way they would care and you wouldn't get that money is if there was some sort of an intentional activity that took place to take the life of Gloria. So, in a real weird Freudian slip, passive aggressive way, it almost feels like there was some sort of admission that it wasn't the dogs, it wasn't something not intentional in that moment. But again, we'll never know. The two other people who were there at that moment are dead.
Yeah. He practiced liar, and he's got a life arc of destruction around him,
Yeah.
and lives ruined and lives lost. Kind of very much like Daybell,
Yeah.
Lori Daybell. She's same thing. She's got a life arc of people dying around her,
Hmm.
and same thing with Murdaugh. I mean, I looked up the stat on this at one point too. The average human being during the course of their lifespan, from roughly 0 to 80, which is the top end of our expected lifespan if things remain healthy, on average by our 50s and 60s, deals with death about 4 times in life on average, even during the course of lifespan. And this is generally dealing with parents and siblings.
Hmm.
Some of these people have dealt with that number in their 20s and 30s
Yeah.
and beyond already. So it kind of shows you how far out of the norm that they're spiking with this abnormal behavior and death and destruction. And when it becomes a pattern, you got to give it a look and say, what is going on here
Yeah.
that's creating chaos around this human being? Because it's not normal. And normal, not and what's normal? It deviates from a pattern of human behavior that is standard, and it goes outside that standard deviation.
Hey, it's Tony Brueski. If you want more of our interview with our guests, be sure to check out our podcast, Hidden Killers with Tony Brueski. Just search that wherever you download podcasts and press subscribe. Also, you can check out our YouTube channel for the full video version of the interviews as well, under the same name, Hidden Killers with Tony Brueski. Check it out, subscribe, binge, and enjoy. Thanks for watching.